Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 194 of the show. Before we get started, into the house cleaning quick because, well, you guys know I like to do it around here. It only makes sense that we do it. So let's just get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys constantly take time of your days to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or not. I greatly appreciate it. And, well, we have video. It took a little bit because for some reason my cam link is being super weird. Maybe it's probably just the cam link is finicky, but I don't know. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. But we have video again, and if all else fails, we still have the audio version. But I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to this episode. Again, I really appreciate the downloads, the shares. We're already over 2,700 total downloads. My goal is still to hit 3,000 by the end of the year, or at least 3,000 before the 3-year anniversary of the show. So hopefully we can get that going. Obviously, you guys also get to see the new Boom Armor in action if you're, watching the video version. I also do want to say just thank you guys. Thank you to the Patreon backers for supporting the show. You guys are greatly appreciated. I genuinely appreciate you guys because, well, you also support the show. But with house cleaning out of the way, today's episode is going to be a bit interesting because, well, I have what we're talking about here in front of me, and, well, you probably weren't expecting me to talk about this sucker again. The Nintendo 3DS, and primarily the Nintendo 3DS in 2021, because, okay, I know it sounds super weird. You guys are probably like, Josh, what in the hell, my man? Like, this thing is at least 5 years old. Well, the 3DS line is more than that, but primarily this is the new 3DS XL. You guys are probably thinking, Josh, what the hell? The Switch has already been out. What's the point of talking about this thing? Like, no one cares about it. And I get what you're coming from, but let's try to have a conversation about it and why I think the Nintendo 3DS in 2021 and going forward is going to be a very interesting option for a lot of people. So why did I randomly just get the itch to talk about this thing? Like, let's just be real here. Like, we're just going to start talking about this thing out of the blue? Like, no, there's clearly a reason. And for me, it all comes back to the story of when I was in high school. Before I got my Switch, I had sold my 3DS. I had the Hyrule Warriors, a new Nintendo 3DS when it came out. I got it, and I ended up selling it after I got my Switch, or at least before my Switch, to help recuperate some of the money to help get some things for it. And I regretted it heavily. I admit that it wasn't the best choice to make because, well, I missed having my Switch. I really did. I wish I still kept it. And after all these years, I've been looking for another, well, not looking for another Switch, but more like looking for my DS because I've been wanting this sucker for a while. And I spent this whole time trying to look for it. And I was lucky enough that a pawn shop in town had a functioning, perfectly fine Cosmo 3DS XL, the new one. That's why, I have it right here in front of me. And so I ended up picking up, and I've noticed, especially after looking at everything right now, the prices have gone up tremendously. If you're looking for a DS Lite, new 3DS, 3DS XL, anything in that lineup, yeah, prices are going crazy, especially even games like the older Pokemon games and stuff like that. A lot of older games are just skyrocketing in value right now, and it's just like, what the hell, And to me, it's just very interesting seeing how everything's turning out. And I wanted to have a conversation about it because I feel like after the Switch came out, something was lost when it came to the Nintendo brand, especially when it came to handhelds. Because I understand that the Switch is, it can be used in docked mode or handheld mode. But as a handheld, the Switch really isn't that good. If we're being like, I get it, like from the jump of the 3DS to the Switch in terms of durability and things like that. Yeah, there obviously were some major concerns with the 3DS when it came to, not the 3DS, but primarily the Switch when it came to durability. Because yeah, the Switch ain't exactly the most durable piece of hardware ever. I'm just being honest with you. The display gets scratched super easily if you don't have a screen protector. The Joy-Cons, do we even need to go into the Joy-Cons and how poorly designed the Joy-Cons were? Like, I get it, it's a nice idea, but the Joy-Con drift is terrible. Nintendo still refuses to acknowledge it as an actual issue because, you know, they're stubborn as bulls. And then you had the 3DS and the DS lineup, and these things were, you know, built like bricks. Like, I get it, the clamshell design is a bit, you know, dated. The displays aren't exactly the best. Like, obviously the Switch has a better display. Yes, the Switch can run AAA games. However, I always tell people when they always mention the whole AAA games thing with the Switch, I'm like, you do realize AAA developers try to avoid the Switch as much as they can, right? Like, they really hate trying to develop for this thing because it's just so underpowered in the competition. And Nintendo always keeps saying like, oh, we don't care about hardware, we don't care about power, it's just like our games speak for themselves. I'm like, yeah, it's a problem when your games run like absolute dog shit on your own hardware and they're optimized for it. So, just saying. And it's something that someone even mentioned too a little bit with the 3DS lineup, where, yeah, it was a hardware generation where developers genuinely developed for the hardware with the hardware limitations in mind. And it's something I feel like we lost a little bit in the span of going from the 3DS or the 3DS era to the Switch era. That it was something that has been lost in the process of things, if I'm just being honest with you guys. But what are we really here to talk about when it comes to the DS? I think the 3DS in its current state, primarily if you still have one or if you're looking to buy one, it's a tough thing right now. If I'm just being honest, like the library is massive. That's one of the benefits of owning a 3DS, is that you get access to the 3DS library, but you also get access to the 2DS library, or not the 2DS, but the original DS library of games. Like, I have been collecting a couple games right now, and we'll get to the next part because I know someone's going to mention it. But it's been very interesting seeing how prices have gone up, and that's something that's kind of affecting the whole surge in how the DS right now is becoming a very popular thing to talk about in 2021, even though this console's already discontinued at this point. It was discontinued in 2018, but the eShop and everything still work, and it's kind of crazy if you think about it. But the main thing you're probably all here for is the homebrewing scene. Obviously, homebrewing your 3DS is a very popular thing. Like, just being honest, I did that with this one. Like, I wanted to build up my physical library as well, but I also realized there were a lot of games that I just couldn't get my hands on, like the older Pokemon games. Like, right now, trying to buy them is kind of stupid. I'm just being honest with you. Like, unless you want to drop like a fat like 80 to $100 for Diamond and Pearl, a little bit more for Platinum, maybe Black and White 2. A lot of people are constantly making fakes of them right now. The older GBA ones too, like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, like Crystal, like all these older Pokemon games, like the original Heart Gold and Soul Silver, or the original Gold and Silver, and then obviously Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes as well. Those are going for like ridiculous prices. Even the hardware themselves, like DSs right now, like this Cosmo one, even in this condition where it's like, yeah, there's some physical scratches, but like all the buttons and the screens are perfectly fine, is going for around like $200-300. That's more than it ever was, even brand new. Same thing with like custom, like the special editions, like the SNES one is going for like $400 or $500. And 3DS XL is like the NES model, or the Hyrule Warriors edition that I had, or the Majora's Mask, or the 20th anniversary of the Pokemon one. Like all these special editions and even just regular DSs are going for insane prices right now. Even the DS Lites, DSis, like it's crazy that the surge in popularity for these things. But I also understand people like retro hardware. People like playing retro games. It's a natural thing. It's what people like to do, if I'm just being honest with you here. But obviously the home brewing scene is big too. Like the fact that these things are discontinued, yeah, home brewing is starting to become a pretty popular trend with these things, if I'm just being honest with you guys. Like home brewing is a popular thing, and it's very easy to do now. Like, to be honest, it took me like 20 minutes to homebrew my DS. Like the video is 14 minutes, but like, obviously fast forwarding through some parts, it takes like actually like 20. But you get what I mean? Like it's so simple to do and it's not challenging at all. And it's so rewarding because people say it's like the best thing you really can do to your 3DS if you have one. Now, if you're homebrewing and you're emulating and you're running a lot of the older DS games and Game Boy games, it's recommended that you get the new 3DS XL because a lot of these emulators need a little bit more juice. And that's the benefit you get with using the new 3DS XLs or the new 3DS in general, is that they are faster processors. Same thing with like the 2DS XL. Like it's the same thing as the 3DS, just without the 3D feature. But it's one of those things where, yeah, like for a lot of people that want to play the older Pokemon games, like, yeah, emulating is your only bet right now. Like it's the best way to play it, at least to hold you off until prices go down. And then you're able to buy them for what they actually are worth, which is like 20, 30 bucks, just being real. Because I remember when Soul Silver and Heart Gold were like 30 bucks a piece and you can buy them. It wasn't hard to buy them. And now it's just like, bruh, it's hard to get them. To me, it's not just a nostalgia thing. There's a lot of possibilities that can be had. It just feels like there was something that was lost from the transition of the 3DS to the Switch. It's that whole idea of portability, because this is much more portable than your Switch. It is also going to take an ass beating better than your Switch. It also has a bigger library than your Switch. Now, is it going to have the biggest and greatest AAA titles? No, but it's still home to a lot of super popular games. Like you're not going to pretend like the 3DS and the DS library don't have some absolute gems of games on there. We're not going to pretend that that's not true. Like for the DS, like Chrono Trigger is a very popular game. The original Fossil Fighters, for people that like the Fossil Fighters series. Even on the 3DS library, like I have a couple right here in front of me, like Mario Kart 7, Kingdom Hearts, Dream Drop Distance, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario 3D Land. You have Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, both in 3D remakes. You have like obviously the modern Pokemon games, even though a lot of people don't like those. We're just going to be honest here. But you have those too. You also have access when you emulate. You can play a lot of the older DS games in perfect, like as they are originally, like with no issues, because they run flawlessly with no stutters, no lag, nothing. Even the older Game Boy ones too. And older games like Game Boys, like games like Metroid Fusion, one of the most popular Metroids ever made. You also have access to, like in my case, like the Mega Man Star Force series. Like I grew up with Mega Man Star Force. One of my most popular games that I played when I had my original DS Lite, and then I eventually, when I got my 3DS and stuff like that and still played it on there, was Mega Man Star Force 2, Zerker and Sonora. That game right now is like 150 bucks. Yeah, I ain't buying that. As much as I love that game, and I was only able to beat it on one of my files, yeah, I'm not buying that again. And to be honest, when I homebrewed it, that was one of the games I got. And I also got a lot of the older, like the original, like Star Force 1, where it was Leo, Drago, and Pegasus. I'm going to play through those because I've never played them. And then even the final one in the series, which is Star Force 3, Black Ace and Red Joker. I'm going to play through those too. And yeah, I also downloaded all the old Pokemon games too so I can play them, because obviously I want to play through them. I have an itch to play through them. But also just a lot of older games like Mario Party DS, one of the greatest Mario Parties ever made, that was just genuinely good, or Mario Kart DS, even though I have Mario Kart 7, so there's kind of no point to play that. But you get what I mean. Right now is a good time to have a 3DS, to buy a 3DS, especially because you can homebrew these things very easily. And I know some people will say like the whole debate with like piracy and stuff like that. To be honest, it's an old system, guys. No one cares. Like, it's an old system. It's old for a reason. It's a retro, like, it's kind of weird to say it, that it's a retro console now, and it's not even that old, and it's still very powerful as a handheld. Like, carrying one of these, you have great battery life on these suckers. Like, they last longer than the Switch. That's kind of one of the downsides of the Switch, is poor battery life in handheld mode. I always use my Switch in docked mode, to be honest. Now, do I say that you go out and sell your Switch and buy a 3DS? No. Like, let's just be real here, guys. Let's use a little bit of common sense. Let's have some big brain energy. But what I am saying is that if you still have your 3DS, or primarily if you have like the 3DS XL, the new 3DSs, or the 2DS XL, I would say homebrewing is a good idea for you guys. I don't see why you wouldn't. Now, I do see why a lot of people recommend that if you have like one of the new 3DSs or even the 2DS XL, those are much better, or you should be looking for those, given the fact that they're better for homebrewing and running the emulator and stuff like that. It's better because you can overclock them. I do recommend that personally. I would say some people recommend, if you're going to be buying a 3DS right now, especially given how the market is right now for these suckers, I would say probably go for the Japanese ones, the LL models, because the homebrew can unregion lock them, and you can also, like I said, you can get all the games you want on there anyway, so you can just unregion lock them because of the homebrewing stuff. But if you still have yours, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to homebrew it. Don't think it'd be a bad idea to learn how to fix them, or maybe buy some extra batteries for them so that you can make them last a long time. Because let's be real, these things are built like tanks. These things can take an ass beating. Or look at your local pawn shops too, guys. Like, we don't just live in an online bubble. Like, we have local shops for a reason, guys. Like, and I'm fairly certain, because like I found mine in a local shop. You can find it too. But to me, it's something about the 3DS and just the DS in general is a part of me that, you know, I grew up with it. I grew up with the DS Lite. I grew up with the 3DS. I grew up with the new 3DS XL. Like, I grew up with these things. And now that I'm able to do more than I ever have with them, and like not just relive that nostalgia or just get that itch out of the way, but it's like genuinely seeing the value that this has in the current market. That, yeah, it still has its place in the market, guys. It may be a bit old, but it does still have its place in the market right now. And I feel like, to me, what I've been telling people is like, having the 3DS is like my way of stepping away from the phone and just really having a little bit of fun, like stepping away from my phone, not being on my phone so much, and just have something that, you know, have a little bit of fun with, and not deal with the crap on social media or other people. Like, just genuinely have some fun with my friends. And heck, even right now, like, I've started to get a lot of my friends back into using their 3DSs and even homebrew them. So I'm definitely going to be doing this conversation more and more as time goes on, and just having a little bit of fun with it, because to me, I genuinely enjoy having my 3DS in 2021. And I think if you still have yours, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to, you know, go for it again. Like, not go for it again, but take it out for a spin. Relive some of those old memories, and maybe go a little bit further and homebrew it and run some of these older games. Get a lot of games that you weren't able to get before, because the modding community on the 3DS is insane. And I recommend it to anybody that still has theirs. And if you're looking to go buy one, go look at your local pawn shops and look online, look in the area, like see if you can find a good deal, and obviously pay attention to the details. Like, I'm just being honest with you guys. Don't buy one that's got like broken buttons and messed up screens, guys. Like, if it's got physical damage, okay, that makes a little bit of logical sense. I'm just being honest with you guys. Not everyone takes care of their stuff. Like, I always baby my stuff to absolute death, but not everyone does. A little bit of physical damage can go away. Like, to be honest, I'm waiting for a skin for this sucker to come in, and I'm going to cover the cosmic. I know it's kind of weird because the special edition, I'm covering the special edition, but I'm putting a skin over it that still keeps in line. It's just a little bit more unique for me. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think the Nintendo 3DS holds its place in 2021. And I firmly believe that if you still have yours, pull it out and use it. Like, homebrew it. Have some fun with it. Like, go try out some games that you haven't played in a while, or start building up your library, because there's going to come a day when they won't sell these games anymore. And by the time you want to get them, all these games are going to be super expensive once they stop selling them. Like, GameStop right now is doing a sale where, yeah, you can buy 2 pre-owned games and get one for free. I take advantage of that. I don't know why you guys wouldn't. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, whether you guys agree with me, whether you don't agree with me, whether you think I'm just crazy as all shit. But I thank you guys so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I love you guys to death. To be honest, I just want to be a little bit honest with you guys too. Well, I say I like to be honest with you guys. I'm always honest with you guys. It's very interesting that the semester of school is coming down and winding down. Like, it feels weird. You know, it just feels like I just started a couple days ago, you know? But I also want to say thank you guys for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. We're still trying to fix the cam link issue, because it's kind of bull that this thing still don't want to work. And it's kind of useful. Well, I need it to work when I'm doing interviews and stuff. So cam link's kind of stupid. I'd have to find a replacement for it. But thank you to the Patreon backers for, you know, just supporting the show. Thank you to all of you guys for interacting with me, with choosing the topics. Like, the fact that you want to know how heavily voted this sucker was for the episode? A lot of people voted for this thing. It was pretty crazy. You guys had a lot of fun voting for this sucker, and you really wanted me to talk about it. So I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. As always, guys, don't do anything dumb. Please be safe. Please continue to take care of those around you because the world is still a super weird place, guys. Just be safe. And as always, I love you guys to death, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.